Come on. What are we doing? Can we start? There we go. That took forever. Jeez Louise. Let's see here. Pop out the chat. Move you over here. And we want to see live. All right. We have this new thing that says top fans. So that's fun. Okay. And I need to hit this button here and main screen. Boom. There we go. Hooray. Loosely collected. Good morning from Jonesboro, Illinois, where it's hot. Shocker, I know. Yeah, it's warm here too. I have to have the door closed to the sunroom because Rex can't be trusted today. He came in already once and tried to jump up on top of the bookshelf back there, which is already a mess. And so I have to, I'm going to sweat to death. So I hope he's happy. BF Bulldog, good morning from a super rainy Yukon, Oklahoma. Hope you're doing well. Uber Nerd Lucas, good morning from Phoenix, Arizona, where it is also hot. Sure, it's a dry heat. Dragonfire, morning from Quebec. Jonathan, good afternoon here from France. Pretty wild to see my models on a TM preview. On the did you sculpt the stuff for Victus? Is that the stuff that's because that stuff's pretty cool. I'm going to talk about that and some other stuff too. I'm actually painting some of those models right now. I don't have any good pictures yet, but I had a friend of mine print them and I started painting them, and they're in the basement. I showed them off a little bit on my Twitch stream on Friday. Morning all from Toronto. How you doing, Bradley? Morning from Scranton, PA. I love the diver-looking fellow in the thumbnail. Yeah, they're really cool models. They got a lot of character. Hello, hello, Motorbreath Jazz, Sergeant Major. How you doing? Rainy, muggy South Ontario. It's nice and bright and sunny, but yeah, it's warmer than I would like. And like I said, I can't get the benefit of having the windows open, except for, of course, all the lawn mowing noises that are going to come in. So that's fun. But yeah, because I could see Rex in the other window just a little while ago, but he's moved to go cause havoc someplace else. He's been a peach all day today. I don't know what it is. Morning from North Carolina. Today I'm hosting my my monthly Battletech skirmish. Nice. Mad Max, good morning. Let's see here. VJ Morph, how you doing? Ralph, good time of day from Clearwater, Florida. At least it has a dry heat, sure. Molly, how you doing? Finger surgery and an allergic reaction to the surgical soap have put a damper on my hobbying for a couple of weeks. Well, that's no fun. I hope you get better soon. Instead, I'm fleshing out my first homebrew game to give a whirl with friends. Nice. It's good to use the time in a different way if you can. Good morning from Santa Cruz. Hope all is well. Let's see here. Buzzregog, good morning from Middle Tennessee. Troubleshooting a printer problem with my A1 Mini. Well, that's a bummer. Let's see here. Legionnaires, how you doing? Castman, it's the final countdown, indeed. Hello from a sweltering Isle of Wight. Way too hot for priming. Yeah, there's times when it is too hot for priming, for sure. Too humid is where our problem generally is. Good afternoon from sunny but not hot Berlin. Hope you have a good time, indeed. Let's see here. Painting the other side of the fence in Erskine, Scotland. It's dry. Got to do it. Gotcha. That blank ball head in the picture must be Mysterio in disguise. Could be. Could be. Morning from Paraguay. How you doing, Guillermo? Morning from New Orleans. First time I've ever made a start of the show. Well, there you go, Gasman. Comp Native. Howdy. Let's see here. Good morning from Cleveland. How you doing, Joseph? Darknet. Morning from San Antonio. Let's see here. Hello from Quebec City. Coffee time. Good morning from Iowa. How you doing? This Mechanic Games. Good to see you. This morning from good morning from very warm Ireland. Currently painting Trench Crusade models on my or printing Trench Crusade models on my new printer. Nice. Thanks for the recommendation on the A1 Mini. I love it. Cool. Have you tried speed paints through your airbrush by chance? All the time. Oh yeah. They don't do the speed paint thing when you shoot them through your airbrush, but that's not what I'm using them for. When I fire speed paint through my airbrush, I am basically trying to lay down what's known as a filter very frequently in scale modeling circles. What you're doing is you're basically spraying down a layer of transparent paint, and because it's been, turned into tiny little particles and shot down and everything, it doesn't like run and go into the crevices and do all the stuff that normally it's supposed to do, like speed paint, because you're not putting it on in that amount of fluid, you're putting it on in a much finer kind of spray. Excuse me. My voice is funny today. And so it's really good for, like, you have a piece of terrain and you want it to get darker as it gets towards the bottom, like, because, rain falls off the roof and it hits the mud and it splashes up. You see buildings that have that all the time, where there's like at the bottom, they get kind of this brown color. And you can just do that so easily by either using a color like pallid bone or bony matter. Those are the two that I generally use. If I really need it to get darker, or if I'm spraying a much darker building, then I'll use hardened leather. But yeah, just fire it straight through. Don't have to thin it or anything like that. And because it's transparent, it doesn't cover the color underneath. So, and because it's a speed paint and it's in an actual dropper bottle and useful, it's really easy to get into your airbrush. So, I do it all the time. I keep actually some speed paints just in my airbrush room, the little weird room underneath my basement stairs where I do my airbrushing. I keep speed paints in there that I don't use at my normal hobby desk, so that I'm not having to transfer them back, back and forth all the time. So it works really, really great. Good morning. Finished my daughter's Minecraft chicken jockey model and impressed a bunch of 12-year-olds. That's a win, right? I mean, if you can impress 12-year-olds, that is pretty good. Let's see here. Nurgle Matthew, how you doing? Jesse Daniel, morning from sunny Milwaukee. How you doing? Yep, I'm Vay Victus. Nice, cool. Yeah, like I said, I really like the 28 Psalm models, and so I am in the process of painting 5 of them. I had my friend Dave print me a bunch of different parts. I gave him like a list of parts and said, "Well, can you mirror this one?" and all that kind of stuff. But I'll talk about that stuff in a bit. Let's see here. Coventry, UK. Martin, how you doing? Heresy, how you doing? Hello from Australia, where it is cold. Well, it's winter there, isn't it? But good to see you. Pesler the Polychromatic, good morning from Smoky, Saskatchewan. We've been getting Canadian wildfire down here as well. Mostly as haze. But it's not been terrible, but it's been noticeable again. Yeah. Stochastic Agency, good morning, with a deer-filled backyard from KCMO. Or is it deer-filed? I'm not sure. We haven't had any deer in our yard, which is good because it's not that big of a yard and we don't live out of town. But we did have a turkey a couple of years ago, which was like surprising. We surprised the turkey and it ran across the street and hid behind someone's garage. And I don't know what it was doing in town like that. It was kind of weird. I run Vay Victus. I run Vay Victus miniatures with my partner. These models were done for 28 Psalms extensions for Forbidden Psalm. More of these sort of collabs or plans should be fun. Cool. Yeah, I did the Kickstarter or whatever for 28 Psalms. And so I've got the book. Right here. I knew it was in this room. It was in the dining room for quite a while. But yeah, it's the hardcover. I've got the PDF someplace as well, I'm sure. But this is the like newest 28 Psalms. It's interesting because it's like the easy 28 Psalms. It's like beginners 28 Psalms. Which I didn't realize, I guess, technically. Initially I thought it was going to be just like grim dark sci-fi, but it's actually grim dark sci-fi, but there's also the ability to do fantasy stuff in there as well if you want to. And it is, like I said, kind of a little bit more of a beginner's kind of, Forbidden Psalm. It's even like, because Forbidden Psalm came out and then The Last War came out, which added more stuff, and then Kill Sample Process came out, which added more stuff, and they've kind of chunked stuff on, and this is like the more stripped down than the original one version, just a little bit, which is interesting. In the meantime, I finally got one of my holy grails off of eBay. It's the pristine, still in the shrink wrap, box of plastic Citadel Daleks and Cybermen. I missed the last ones GW had in 1991. Whoa. I didn't even know they did that. That's interesting. Winter is finally getting cold over here. I mean, I guess the question is, what do we mean by cold? Because winter in Wisconsin is probably a different cold than you guys are used to in Australia. But I don't know. Morning from Townsville, where I shall be cleaning my first experimental resin printed figures. Nice. Good morning from cloudy Mexico City. How you doing? Declan at the grandparents this week of the holidays, so hoping to get some hobby time. Neat. Morning from Montreal. How you doing, Sim? Hi from Grand Falls, Canada. Ben, how you doing? Morning from Juneau, Alaska. Supposed to be sweltering 65 today. I always enjoy catching a Tabletop Minions live show. Keep up with the awesome work. Well, I will attempt to, but thank you very much. Morning from North Bend, Washington. Long-time listener, first time catching the show live. Well, that's cool. Glad to hear that too. I think it's like pretty it's like 70 here, so it's not, but it's gonna heat up over the day. So when you said it was a sweltering 65, you know what I mean, made me think about where it's at here right now. Riding couch this morning in Tulsa. Nice. In Florida, so no hobbying for a bit. Still time for game book reading. Always good, I think that counts. It does. Morning, Adam. In an hour, going to my OPR Learn to Play at my LGS, but I'm wearing my blue Space Station Zero t-shirt. Nice. I'm wearing a Space Station Zero t-shirt right now, as a matter of fact. Another Santa Cruzian here. That's a lot of fun to say. That's a good time. Just got my Snarling Badger books in the mail the other day. Painting up aliens for Space Station Zero. Nice. Good morning from Denver. Thanks for the reminder to paint all the Vevictus minis I've printed over the past. I mean, they're fun to paint. Video this week was a banger. Have to admit that since I moved house, my hobby has been all about the JOMO, joy of missing out. Sure. Yeah, it was just one of those things where, like I said, I've talked about it in the past, kind of on, like, I had one video way back, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But it was one of those things where I was like, I feel like it would be a good idea to kind of talk about it again, especially with the way things have changed to some degree with GW and the relatively constant kind of FOMO marketing that they do now and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting times. They're I don't know. I've been seeing GW's been like dropping the legal hammer more recently on like people. Like there was some STL company that's making stuff that, to my mind, I was looking at it, it was probably stuff that's aimed more towards the old world. And I don't know if they just used the word Warhammer like in a listing somewhere, because the stuff didn't look like it was like scans or ripoffs or anything like that particularly. But they got like a cease and desist, maybe because they used the word Warhammer or whatever. And I feel like whenever Games Workshop starts to do that stuff kind of, like more seriously, the guy's just going to sit there with the leaf blower all over and over and over and over again for the next 2 hours. Get a rake. Anyway, the thing is that when they start doing that legal stuff and they start pulling those legal moves, I feel it's because things aren't going great at GW. I could be wrong, but I think that, and Lord knows their stock price is high, and that means everything, of course, I guess, or whatever. But I think that when they start doing that stuff, they know internally that things are starting to move a different direction than they want to, or whatever the deal is. I could be wrong. I guess it could be some executive that just got a wild hair in them, but I don't know. Whenever they start doing that stuff, I go, you guys don't have anything else better to do, huh? Is that what's going on? So I don't know. We'll see. Anyone try those markers that Uncle Adam highlighted in his video in short the other week? Strongly considering picking some up. I like them. Like I said, especially the Sharpie ones. Oh, and I like the Pigma Micron ones too. But for me, the Pigma Micron, well, actually, both of them are very specific things, right? Like the Pigma Micron ones are. A lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh, I like to use them for eyes." I've never really done that, but I should probably give it a try at some point. But then the other markers, some people in the comments said that they would think about trying to paint a miniature with those Sharpie markers. I don't know if I would do that personally myself, but for like the, maybe like maybe some trim like on a chaos guy. It's too bad they don't make them in metallics, but nonetheless, I could see maybe that, or I could see, obviously for the graffiti thing, I could see that. But yeah, I don't know. I like them. I just don't think that I would paint an entire miniature with them. You know what I mean? So they're kind of specific. I use them in certain specific situations, terrain a lot, things like that. But yeah. Let's see here. I was hoping to get an early start, but I was doom scrolling last night, and before I knew it, realized it was 4 a.m. That'll get you. Yeah. Could have used that time for painting minis instead. Also true. Morning from Kansas. About to paint some Gretchens and Orcs today. Nice. How you doing? I hope you got some green paint. Let's see. Finishing off my first batch of old second edition 40K Orcs in 20 years. I'm enjoying myself too much. Well, that's good. Molly says, big Ve Victus fangirl here. Nice. Let's see here. Impressing 12-year-olds is a huge win, especially for me, since I paint to an adult tried at arm's reach standard. See, there you go. Been making a modular arena setup for Harefoot Jousting from Dollar Tree junk, as well as printing up miniatures to play it. Nice. I've heard about that game, yeah. I've watched Horus Heresy players get angry, defend, and attack each other over the leaks about deleted units and war gear. As a 40k player since Rogue Trader, I want to make a first-time meme about it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. You'll find that when I talk a little bit about some of the 3D printing stuff I've been looking at, you'll find that none of it is from Games Workshop, which of course is the case because they don't do that stuff. But it's also, I don't know. They keep coming out with stuff that I'm just not like. The most recent Kill Team box that's coming out soon, I think. Typhon, something with a tie. The TIE fighter. No, that's not right. Wrong thing. But like there's two factions in there, and one I'm like, it's kind of cool. Like the servitors are kind of cool. I could see using them for something. But the Tyranids I've got no use for personally, and I don't know if they're even good Tyranids or if you can use them in like regular games. I don't know. Like, the Horus Heresy big shoulder guys, I couldn't care less. Like they haven't made anything in a while, other than the stuff for Cathay. The Cathay stuff I'm looking at, and I'm like, that stuff is really cool. Nice work. I'm never gonna buy it. And it's not just because I don't play or I'm not interested in the old world. I could use those for other things. I could use some of just even the regular foot troops would be really cool to use in like warbands for different games or like, but I'm just like, you did good work, but it still is not enough right now for me where I'm interested or anything like that. But also it's been really interesting to see the people online complaining about, because there's that big, I think it's called a Sentinel. This is that big statue guy. I shouldn't have eaten yogurt for breakfast. It has a tendency, the dairy, I think, makes my voice funny. I've seen so many people complaining about putting that thing together. I think Vince, I swear to God, Vince told me it was 140 pieces for that statue. And I'm like, why? Just so, yeah. I don't want to do that anymore if I can help it. What I've been really enjoying painting lately, besides started working on those Ve Victus 28 Psalms folks, the one-page rule stuff. I've got my Robot Legion army almost finished. Well, that's not true. I have like 2 squads of 10 that need to get finished, and then it'll be done. And then I'm going to work on the lizards next. So the space lizards. Surprise turkey is the best turkey. I mean, it was surprising. Good morning from humid Georgia. Finishing the troll mini for my Blood Bowl team. Nice. Good morning from Virginia. I'm battling kittens from my keyboard as I attempt to type. I hope you're well. Kittens that's a whole different kettle of fish. And I hope you're well as well. Yeah. Yeah, Rex was just from like 4:30 on, he was just crazy. Just waking us up constantly, and it was driving me a little nuts. He seems to only do it on days when he knows I need to get up early. You know what I mean? No, that's not true. He does it other days too. I just notice it, I think, a bit more when I have to get up early. Aussie cold, so single digits. So single digits, but Celsius. So you're still looking at for us over here, you're getting down into the probably 30s and stuff like that. And that's chillier than I thought. I'll be honest with you. Let's see here. What do we mean by cold? Well, in the tropics around latitude 19 south, it is currently 17 C. Well, that seems warmer than I would think. Let's see here. Good afternoon from Barcelona. Cloudy afternoon today. Been working on Trench Crusade Squad. Nice. Places like Culpy or Oki, I'm assured, are somewhat different. Morning from Omaha. How you doing? Meat treat. Morning from Manchester. I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire, not the English one. I'm enjoying assembling some of the new Gundam Assemble miniatures. Way better than the GW push fits. See, I didn't realize that those were out yet. Is that for the Gundam like miniatures game? I thought that was coming out in 2026, but I honestly wasn't paying super close attention when they announced it. I'll be honest with you. As a big Dune fan, love the litany against FOMO. Yes, I appreciate that. That was fun. It was just something that I was like, I should do that. And then when it was time to start editing it, I'm like, I think I can. Someone in the comments was like, wow, you really got the lighting to dim perfectly. It worked out really well. That was really good work. And I was like, oh, I didn't do that at all. I just, my editing software, I use Final Cut Pro from Apple. And there's a new feature they added maybe 3-4 months ago called Magnetic Mask, which allows you you can take this little pointer and then point it somewhere on like a person, let's say. And it works really well when the background's not moving around too much. If the background's moving, it still works relatively well, but it works incredibly well when the background's not moving and the camera's not moving. And so you like tap, and then you see like the person, like the outline of them kind of like light up. And then you tell it to analyze that clip that you've set aside, and then it goes through. It basically rotoscopes everything, and then but you've made a second layer. So you're rotoscoping the second layer. So there's a second layer that is just me, but with like a black background, and it's just like transparent. And then you put between the original shot of me and then the only person just shot of me with no background. That's when you start putting in like a black, just a solid, and then you can make it transparent and have it start to get darker and darker and darker, and it looks like the lights are going down behind me. And then of course the fire that came in, that was a whole, but a year ago that would have taken me 2 hours, and now with Magnetic Mask it took me 3 or 4 minutes probably. It was very like the actual processing time of that clip to cut out every single frame, even like the hairs on my head and stuff that are sticking up. It's kind of crazy. Like that actual processing time is, I don't know, 30 seconds. It's very quick. It's fun, and I keep messing with it. I keep doing stuff where you'll see stuff like go behind me sometimes. People in the old days used to think, well, when I moved to this new studio, people thought that background of the studio was green screen, and that I wasn't sitting in front of the stuff that I was. But that's all actually the stuff. Dude. Like here, all this stuff that I really need to clean up back here. This is not a green screen. This is just the room. It's just that the lens I'm using here is, I've got the aperture open wide enough that I get a depth of field, so stuff looks blurry back there. But that's not like a background effect like you see in Zoom calls and stuff like that. That's actually like if I go back there. I get blurry as I move back because that's photography. Anyway, I've gotten that off my chest. There we go. Let's see here. That said, the amount of negative on GW in it makes me think your freebies might dry up. Not that I think that you worry yourself about that. I mean, yeah. I, the only stuff that they send me anymore, because I asked them to stop sending me. They used to send me like 40K stuff, and I know this is going to sound like a jerk move, but there was a time during eighth where I would get a codex every week, and I didn't play 40K at the time. Well, no, in eighth I played a little bit, but you really only need your own codex. But they were just constantly firing stuff out, and then you're like, I don't know what to do with all this stuff. Like, I'm not going to review every book that you send every friggin' week and all that kind of stuff. It's not a thing. It's not what I do in the channel. I don't do reviews in general. So, yeah, I don't know. I finally said to them, can you guys just send me skirmish stuff? Like, just send me, like, I don't know, like Necromunda and, Kill Team, which at the time I still kind of liked because it was Kill Team 2018. Liked that stuff a lot. And then when Warcry came out, they started sending me that. And every once in a while, they send me a random Blood Bowl thing here and there, like just like a single figure or something. I don't know. Um, and then sometimes Warhammer Underworlds a little bit. But lately it's slowed down because they've been focusing a lot on, I think, 40K and Age of Sigmar, and there hasn't been as much stuff for the other games. I mean, obviously nothing's been coming out for Warcry. Um, so yeah, I'll be honest, like if they were like, hey, we're changing the way we do it or this or that or whatever, and it dried up, it wouldn't bother me because I'm not the type of person that back in the day, what I used to do, they would send out some sort of new thing to talk about. And if I was going to talk about it, the problem was is that you can't talk about it until a certain date and time, and they call that the embargo date, right? And they're not the only ones to do this. All kinds of companies do this. I follow a lot of photography channels, and all of a sudden you can tell when the embargo date on a specific camera has hit that date and time, because then all of a sudden 5 channels that I follow all will talk about this camera at the exact same time. Like they'll all have their videos come out at 6 p.m. Central Time or whatever on Thursday, and also you're like, oh, there's the embargo date. So it's not a thing that GW does only. Lots of companies do it. I think it's to help, even the playing field, because especially with GW, if they're going to mail out a bunch of stuff and they'd be like, talk about it whenever you want, well, the people in the UK would get it first, and then people in say like Australia or like Canada or whatever would not, and then so that would be a thing. Anyway, so the embargo date was always on Saturdays, and my videos come out on Fridays. So for a while back in the day, I would put up my normal video on Friday and then make a second video for that week that would then go up on Saturday, so I could be like launched right at the embargo date. But I got to the point where I'm like, I don't think that this helps. I don't think that, like, if everybody posts at the same time, does that matter then? Is anybody first? So I stopped doing that, and then I just talked about stuff when I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And I'll be honest, lately I haven't talked about a lot of, like, the last video that I really talked about, like, GW, like, stuff that they were coming out with was, I think, the video about the Kill Team box where I liked both forces, the Sanctifiers, and I think it's called Blood and Zeal. It was Blood and Zeal. It was Sanctifiers and the Goremongers or whatever. And I liked both of those. And I was like, wow, they actually made a box where I liked both sides for the first time in forever. And yeah, but otherwise I kind of don't talk about the stuff as much. So I don't know if they're changing the way that they're doing their content creator stuff. I don't know. It seems like there's changes and tweaks that are happening over there in GW land. So we'll see how that works out. Blasted Simulflange, how you doing? Morning from Florida. What are your other favorite alien swear words? I've been bugging my wife telling people to get flarged. Oh, that's right. I want to make, I think I'm going to make a flarg t-shirt. Of course, the folks over at 2000 AD, like Judge Dredd and whatnot, that comic, like they've always had a bunch of cool sci-fi swear words. Drock was one, Drokk, as in Drocket, like, which is, I don't know. They someone in the comments I think to one of those videos, I think it was the one, I don't know if it was the short or if it was the other video, but someone listed a bunch of different swear words. Some of them I remembered and some I didn't from 2000 AD slash Judge Dredd. But yeah, they always did a bunch of cool ones. And then of course, Frack from Battlestar Galactica, that was always pretty good. But yeah, I was like sitting there. I was thinking about it just a couple days ago. I was sitting there with this piece of terrain, and I'm like, what is a piece? What's a fake swear word? And I just wrote flarg, and I was like, all right, there you go. The nonstop FOMO is definitely pushing people past the trust thermocline. Yes, the trust thermocline. When I talked a couple years ago, I did a video about the tipping point. Is GW at its tipping point? And there was a lot of discussion about that. Tipping point is the sort of simple terminology for trust thermocline. If you're interested, look up trust thermocline on online, and you'll find a bunch of interesting information about it. It's the thermocline, from what I understand, I believe, is like you got a body of water, lake, whatever, and then it gets colder and colder and colder and colder and colder, and then all of a sudden it starts to freeze, and then it kind of just is like boom, it freezes sort of quickly. Like it's fluid for longer than you would almost kind of expect as a non-scientist looking at the water going, geez, it's cold. Why is that water still, and then all of a sudden it'll just like, whoop, and then freeze. And that's the thermocline, where it's basically the tipping point where it's liquid, liquid, liquid. Now it's solid. And a trust thermocline in like marketing and stuff like that is like, I trust your company. I trust your company. I trust your company. I don't trust your company anymore. And that's kind of no coming back. Again, tipping point. So, alien swear words. I like the Sharpie ones for trim. I guess it depends on the trim too. You know what I mean? I've never tried it like on the trim on shoulder pads for Space Marines, but I haven't honestly painted a Space Marine in a minute. Morning from Florida. What's your other? I just read that one again. GW nuked some guy. Well, that's not good. For making some amazing Rogue Trader Eldar weapon STLs before I got the chance to buy them. I'm back to the drawing board for something similar to the Eldar Power Fists for a project. Did they? So was it because it looked too much like GW stuff, or because they used the term Eldar in like the name? Because that's the thing, is that like they'll definitely get angry at you about the wording, and to some degree, I don't know. I guess they don't want to become the next Kleenex or Xerox or whatever like that, and blah blah. But now that being said, it is, I think, sort of smart of a person to, if you're going to be making stuff, and putting stuff on My Mini Factory and things like that, and you're making it to be something to sort of replace, like, these guys are I'm basically making different versions of Grey Knights because I like the Grey Knights, but I'm going to make them look a little bit different or the way I want to or whatever. You're not making straight knockoffs of Grey Knights that look identical to the stuff in the box. You're making, whatever. I wouldn't call them Grey Knights in the listing. Maybe in the search terms, if they allow you to put in tags in the search terms, you could put in Grey Knights or something like that. But I would call them something else that maybe people look at and go, he means Grey Knights or whatever. But yeah, it's just easier to get around it so you don't get sued, I guess. Yeah. Because like I said, sometimes GW seems to choose violence when they wake up some mornings. I don't know. Picked up some Micron pens this week. Nice. GW have hired a legal company to protect the IP. They legally have to protect the IP every so often. If they don't under the UK, it makes legal cases much harder to win. Yeah, I've heard that over and over and over again. And again, like I said, just don't use their words. Just that's fine. Got a Sharpie gold and bronze oil paint pens. See, those have got like a slightly different surface when they dry. They look a little bit, they don't look like acrylic somehow. I don't know, because they're not. So I guess there's that too. But yeah. Just finished my RX 93 High V Gundam. Just need to put on all the tiny decals. Hi from Rome, New York, printing 1/12 scale statues for a friend this weekend on the 3D printer. Nice. Oops. I went too far. There we go. Okay. Sharpies, Rome, New York. It's indeed quite smoky here. Currently have 57 wildfires with 11 uncontained. 5-year average for fires is 212 fires. We are currently at 365. It's a bad year. That's no good. Yeah. That is no good. Friday video was gold. I hate how GW, WotC, and other comic companies go for collectors. Make enough to let the character or the collector market do its own thing. They don't even get that money. I'm stunned by Magic the Gathering and the way that they sometimes seem to almost cater to the secondary market. And yeah, they don't make any money off of the secondary market, really. Like, the whole idea behind NFTs. Do you remember NFTs? The whole idea behind the NFT, in theory, was that if you created the NFT and then you sold it to somebody, you got that money for that for them buying it from you. But then if they sold it to somebody else, you still got your beak wet. You still got a small percentage. Every time it got transferred to the next person, the next person, the next person, you always got some. So I could see the benefit in that situation. But with Wizards of the Coast, if they sell you a deck of cards and then you open it up and you're like, wow, this card is $6,000 or whatever, they don't get any cut of that. So, like, why? It just seems odd to me that they kind of sometimes lean into that, but I don't know. I guess it's just to get people to buy more cards, that they might get that $6,000 card. You don't know. You might get that Post Malone card or whatever. I don't know. Let's see here. Good morning from Muggy, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. How you doing, Fangazi? Guerrilla Miniature Games reposting of Rogue Trader and second edition 40 games has got me all misty-eyed and nostalgic. Gotcha. Feels like units that aren't in the book might be reintroduced back through the journal tacticas. It feels like Horus Heresy might be moving towards microtransactions. There's no situation in which I would be surprised by that. If GW could figure out a way to basically just be the video game industry, like, I really feel like GW would just like to get out of miniatures. They just want to do video games because it would be so much easier for them to microtransact us all as much as possible. Space Marines as a service, you know what I mean? Like that's what they're really looking for. But it's going to take a little bit of time. I think so. Robin, hope the day finds you well. Hope the day finds you well as well. Pesler the Polychromatic. Rex is full of piss and vinegar. Well, he's full of something. Yeah, I don't know. Finishing up my custom OPR rules that will merge OPR with Warfleets / Alpha Strike. I know that sounds like it shouldn't work, but it's shaping up pretty well. Well, that's cool. That's fun. Cafe stuff is beautiful, but I don't think it fits with the old world. You know, I'll be very frank with you. When I first saw it, I was like, that doesn't look like Games Workshop stuff, just in general. Like, I do wonder if it's a completely different sculptor. Like, they have certain people who do the sculpting, and then because and it's not because I'm comparing it to the old world stuff, which is 20 or 25 years old. That's part of it, I guess, to some degree. But even if you just take it and compare it to Age of Sigmar stuff that was sculpted 3 years ago, it doesn't look like that stuff. Like it just, I don't know. It's just so odd. It's like, it's closer. It's, in my mind, it's almost a little bit closer to historical, except, there's, a big giant walking sentinel robot, whatever that statue thing is. And there's the really cool, lantern that flies, that, all that stuff. And that's cool and everything. But when I first saw it, I was like, that doesn't look like GW stuff. It was interesting. I know this stuff won't look like old stuff, but I feel like it was made to try and bring Age of Sigmar players to the old world. That's possible. That is possible. I also know a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I'm buying that stuff and turning it into Cities of Sigmar," because and that's something too, Gundam Miniatures game is doing a crossover with the new TCG. The deluxe starter sets comes with 3 minis. Oh, okay, gotcha. So they haven't released the game. They're just like, it's like a tease, kind of. Okay. Assembling some bolt action Soviets. Nice. Those new Warhammer Underworld's Kamandora's blades are some of the worst looking miniatures I've ever seen. Yeah, they are real bad. There's been a bunch of videos from people going, what happened? Why did these? Because here's the thing. Say what you will about Warhammer Underpants, but I don't know anybody really. I know one person that still plays that game. But most of the models they've ever made have been absolute bangers. Like, some of the best models they've made in a long time have been coming out of Warhammer Underworlds. And those guys are not it. Those guys are the opposite end of the spectrum. Not only, I think, did the sculpts look really bad, but then also the paint jobs on the box art were kind of bad too. I was like, did I paint that? What's going on? That's crazy. I don't remember painting that. They're just not good. I don't know. It was, I don't know what happened there. New AI rotoscoping tools in Final Cut and After Effects are getting really good. Yeah, I really like the stuff in Final Cut. It worked out really well. Good morning, Uncle Adam and minions. Quickly popping in from vacation. Nice. In Cancun, Mexico. Fancy. Great hobby day to all. We'll catch the rest of the stream later today. Nice. Question: do you know if Army Painter is going to be releasing the John Blanche paints as individual paint bottles later? No, they're releasing them as individual paint bottles now. Actually, if you go to the website, it was actually like a week or so ago that they said, hey, we're releasing, you can buy them separately. I don't know if you'll be able to buy them separately in stores. That might be up to the store, but yeah, they're you can buy the individual bottles now. So you don't have to do it later. You can do it now if you want to. If you're interested, and you are going to buy some stuff from Army Painter from their website, I'm just saying, if you use the code, and I don't have a button I can push to make it pop up, Factory Uncle 5. So factory, like the factory team, because we're on the factory team. Uncle, because I'm Uncle Adam. And 5, because you'll get 5% off of your entire order. Factory Uncle 5, all one word. Put that in the checkout code thing at the end there, and then boom, there you go. So yeah, but they are available currently now. Let's see here. You can always tell when an embargo lifts because 1 second later, Ash has made a video about it. Also true. He's very good at that. Australia would get it 6 weeks after it's been released. Also true. Hello from Portland, Oregon. Painting ghouls for a new Warcry campaign. Cool, cool. Is it next weekend? Yeah, it's next weekend, isn't it? Or was it Friday? What the heck is when's the 18th? The 18th must be Friday, right? Yep, I'm smart. Okay, so the 18th is Friday, and I think that's when this next big GW release thing is. Like, they're not doing it, I don't think, at a specific show, unless there's some, like, I don't know, like a 40K open someplace. Maybe they're doing it there. I don't know. But on the 18th, they're doing some sort of thing, and in the email that was sent out, they listed, like, oh, we're going to talk about Kill Team, and we're going to talk about 40K, and we're going to talk about, and they didn't mention, of course, Warcry. Now, they might mention Warcry and go, oh, by the way, we're doing 3rd edition or whatever, blah, 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 and it's fancy. And they just didn't want to put they wanted to trick everybody, so they didn't put the icon or the logo for Warcry in that email. On the other hand, they could have just decided that they're done with it. I still don't know. Every engine should be silent, always, in my opinion. And I'm right. Yeah, so they might talk about it during the 18th, July 18th thing. There's a possibility still they might still bring it up during Nova in DC at the end of August. That's still a possibility too, and then it might be a fall release. But I just don't know. I just don't think that it's coming back. But if I make a video about it, then people get angry at me, so I'll just not. But Warcry is still very cool. My latest 3D printing project is a 10mm Urkai army. My 3D printers have become a great tool here in Paraguay, where we don't have access to GW vendors or any local stores that carry miniatures. Yeah, I know, I can totally understand that. And I'm glad that you folks, though, are able to get access to that kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I think 3D printing is so interesting. 2000 AD needs more game and mainstream love. I mean, there was a bunch of different 2000 AD games through Warlord Miniatures, Warlord Games. There was a Judge Dredd game. I bought some stuff for the Judge Dredd game. I'm still planning on playing it eventually, but I think they're phasing it out. I don't know if they've lost the license or I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah. It would be slightly hysterical if all of a sudden GW got the license for 2000 AD and they could sell us judges and muties and stuff like that for $70 or something like that. So many 5-letter swear words. I mean, those are fun. Firefly had some good ones. A lot of them I think were Chinese, though. Thermocline is a temperature layer differential. Gotcha. Roughly how many individual figures have you painted since you started the hobby? Oh gosh, I have no idea. Probably easily more than 1,000, I'm sure. But I don't know the actual answer to that. You can actually see it when you were diving. Oh, the thermocline, remember? That's yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. I think swear words would have spiked letters. Sometimes it's easier to write spiked letters because just if you're doing it, especially with a pen, because if you have to make like a curve, sometimes it's hard. But if it's just like, straight lines, it's easier to do it, and it looks more slightly violent too. But the thing is the people who spray paint um, graffiti onto stuff have a tendency to do a lot of big sweeping curves because it's harder to do a straight line sometimes. I think because you don't have a ruler, and if you're doing it on a piece of terrain, your straight line's this long. You're doing it on the side of a train car, it's straight lines, 8 feet long, and that's hard to pull off. I think. Frel is still a favorite made up curse of mine, while Shui as a substitute for cool from Batman Beyond is also great. Nice. Smeg, yeah, I've heard that one before. Um, let's see here. Sometimes it's easier to just to get the stuff. Sometimes it's easier to just get the GW stuff instead of making a workaround figure. Well, like was just mentioned though, if the stuff doesn't show up in your country at all, like you're in Paraguay, then finding stuff that is, in my mind, finding stuff that is like obviously not a direct copy. That's in my mind. Like if like I was looking around, I think I did a video recently. Well, yeah, was it this week? I don't know. It's the last couple of weeks. I did a video where I showed a 3D STL of a model that you're like, that's obviously they're going for like a Space Wolf proxy, but it wasn't like, oh, someone scanned a GW model or, try to do a direct ripoff. It was a guy, he was in different pose, he's doing different things, whatever. But you look at it, and if you know the lore, you're like, that's basically a Space Wolf. If I paint it right, you'll go, oh, that's a Space Wolf. And I'm fine with that. When you decide to make something that's like close to something or in the idea of something, and you like the look of it better because it's a more dynamic pose, or they've got cooler weapons, or they've got more hair, or whatever's going on, then I get it. It's when people like try to sell stuff that is a direct, exact copy, as close as they can get, and then go, "Oh, I don't know, this is something different. I made it myself." You're like, "No, it's not." That drives me nuts. So yeah. Um, Kudos from Brazil. How you doing? Good morning from Baltimore. How you doing, Brian? Um, let's see here. I have a decent start on it. Need to buy more. Gotcha. I'm over here in Utica, giving a little wave. There you go. Good morning from Winchester, Virginia. Going next weekend to a Historicon convention in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Never been to a Historicon, but I've heard about it a bunch. Howdy from France. How you doing? NFTs. What a scam that was. Indeed. Indeed. It's kind of hard not to use the word Warhammer to describe an actual Warhammer. I mean, if the person is like has a hammer for war, I mean, I would just call it a hammer for war then at that point, just to be snarky. But um, they do get all the sales from everyone trying to get that rare card. Yeah, and that's I think the main reason. But it is interesting how, yeah, again, it's a FOMO thing. They're pushing into that. Love the minis in the thumbnail from Vevictus. Kit bash some of their weapons to make a sniper and shotgun variant for some skirmishes. Nice. That's why it's called cardboard crack. That's why our stuff's called plastic crack. The crazy interest in the Final Fantasy with Magic. I want a miniatures game. A Final Fantasy miniatures game. I played Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1 way back in the day and never finished it. But it never really just grabbed me. I know some people just like are crazy about it, but I remember someone trying to convince me when I was not working over COVID that I should make NFT animations. Boo. um, I mean, if you could get that bag, you know what I mean? Like if the NFT company was like, hey, we'll pay you, and then you do it, and then they pay you, and then they try to sell them to stupid people, and then they get paid, and then I guess eventually somebody's holding the digital monkey that's not worth anything anymore, and as long as you got paid. But I feel like a lot of those NFT projects, the artists got shafted in many of those things too, if there were artists involved at all. Speaking of the Vevictus models, can I make this work? Boop, I can. There we go. So, um, these are the Vevictus models. They're from the thumbnail as well, but these are the ones that I have gotten printed recently. Now, they come in. The thing that I like about them is that they are modular, right? So they are. There's like 8 different legs, right? And the ones that I did 5 models to begin with, and I wanted to use the more pantaloon type legs for this thing. I'm basically building a squad for space weirdos, because try and stop me, really. Um, and you've got 2 options. You've got big poofy pantaloons, kind of like the Swiss Guard over at the Vatican, or you have the more like slightly leather chaps kind of thing going on, right? So you've got chaps, 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 and pantaloons, 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 pantaloons. So I wanted 5 of them. So I had my friend Dave print one of them twice, but I had him mirror it, which is one of the cool things about 3D printing, is that, like, instead of them having to include, like with the hands over here, if you can see the hands, can we zoom it? There we go. With these hands, all these are right hands. But if you want them left hands, which I did because I wanted guns in all the right hands, and then the other hands I wanted them to either be holding, one of them's holding an axe, and the other ones are all just kind of, posing their hands. But I needed them left hands, so you just say, if you're the person doing the printing, or if your friend is doing the printing, you just mirror it. So now the right hand is now the left hand. He just flips it basically. And so that works pretty well. So you've got in here, you've got what, 8 heads? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 heads. You've got 4 torsos, and then you've got 8 legs. You've got 3 different hands with nothing in them. You've got a hand with a grenade in it. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. You've got this cool kind of rifle, laser rifle sort of thing that is attached. So both arms, you don't have to mess with it that way. I goofed up my thing here. Nope. There we go. Okay. But you've also got guns that are not attached to anything. So you could use them for all kinds of other stuff. You could use these extra guns up here, this crazy flail and stuff like that, for other parts. But the flail is also over here with the hand attached. This gun is a hand attached. This gun's hand attached. This one's got like a cord running to the armpit or something like that. But they're just cool. They're interesting. I think that they look fun. I also had this head here, which is the one way over on that side. You can't really see it really well. Down the guy down here. I don't know if you can see my. I think you can see my cursor. The guy in the lower left corner. He has this helmet that's got like this big sort of like bulbous sort of cover, but then it's got the pipes that come down, and then it's got like a skull face built into it. And I got a bunch of those printed because I want to use those on other models. That's the thing I like about these models too, and models like this, is that they're modular, so that you could, if you wanted to, I bet you I could take these arms and put them on Cadians. You know what I mean? I bet you I could take this helmet on, put it on, one of those sanctifiers, or like whatever. Like, it's that modular stuff is a lot of fun. I could absolutely do a lot more with these parts added to Stargrave miniatures, Frostgrave miniatures, like all that kind of stuff. And so that's what I think is really interesting about these types of models when they are for 3D printing. Now, I also like to talk about sometimes how I like the fact that in 3D printed models you don't have to build them. These you have to build, but build is a strong word, right? Like, what I'm literally doing is I'm gluing a torso to a set of legs. I put some glue on the top of the pelvis, and then I put the torso on there, and then, maybe turn it one way or the other. And then you glue the head on, you glue the arms on, you're ready to go. That's pretty much about it. Whereas if you took one of these models and set it up as a GW model, it would be, instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, it'd be 10. And you'd have to, the legs would be, just the legs alone would be 3 parts, or maybe 4. I mean, it's just, so the torsos would all be 2 parts, front and back and all that kind of jazz. So modular, I don't mind building modular models like this. But a lot of times too, you get some cool STL models that are just like a fully posed, like already, kind of like dynamically done person or whatever. Other benefit to the 3D printing stuff, honestly, lately is you can change the scale. Like you want a guy to be like just bigger than everybody else, you just make him a little bit bigger. I don't know, like increase him by 4% or something, and then he's just tall, or whatever. So I think that's kind of cool too. Let's see here. I'm gonna catch up with the chat before I go on too much more. Morning from rainy Italy. I washed my car yesterday. That'll happen. Yeah. Today I'm starting work on a supplement. I'm writing for Forbidden Psalm. Nice. Have you tried Burrows and Badgers? I'm starting my first game next week. I haven't. I'm just not into like anthropomorphic animal stuff, I guess. I don't know. Headed to Walmart with Beckett and Mila. Listening to the car. Well, there you go. How you doing? Assume the Cathay stuff not looking like GW stuff. It's because they're near copies of Cathay designs from Total War. Yeah, could be. Yeah, makes sense. Did you see D&D is going to be a franchise business model? So like you can like get your own D&D store and then sell D&D out of it, or what? I don't know. I don't know what franchise means in that situation. Greetings from Indiana, making 10mm terrain for Steel Rift. Nice. Shoot. I'll scroll and then all of a sudden it's like doop and it just goes to the end and it drives me nuts. Any love for metal minis? I'm OG and love the wait for gameplay of fantasy. Do you know of any modern day companies that make metal minis? For fantasy, not off the top of my head, although I'm sure there are some. For sci-fi, the probably most well-known is most likely Corvus Belli, who make Infinity. Infinity is basically still all metal. They've started making a fantasy game, which is called Warcrow, and I think that's all not plastics, but I think it's the other stuff, the Ceocast, which is plastic adjacent. But yeah. From your last show, check window film from Gila at your DIY store to keep sunlight from fading your miniatures and books. There's so you kind of can't see it, but I have this display case that I got from Artist Opus, and as you can see back there, it's got a plexiglass front on it, which is just warped. So it's like reflecting light right now, and it's just all bendy like a funhouse mirror. I'm really kind of disappointed in that thing. I'm bummed that it looks like it does. Like, it's decent. The rest of it seems to be decent quality, but the piece of plastic in the front is just not great. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about that. I sort of wish I had just made my own, I guess. That would have been cheaper as well and quicker. Well, maybe not quicker. I'm sometimes a slow woodworker, let's just say that. But yeah, it's just, I'm a little bummed about it. Like, it's a cool concept that front's magnetic and pops off, and there's little glass things in there, and it's got lighting inside if you plug it in and do all that stuff. But like, that piece of plexiglass in the front is just wavy, and it's not awesome. Let's see. Robin and Pete from Agents of Sigmar still love their Underworlds, but I agree the minis are great, but the game just isn't my jam. I was kind of into it for a hot second. When Shadespire first came out, I was like, oh, this is cool. But it was always, to me, it was always a, what would you call it? I always thought of it as a gateway game. I always thought of it as being a game that is between a board game and a miniatures game. And that's fine. I still very strongly believe that that game came out as a direct response to Star Wars X-Wing. I believe Star Wars X-Wing, because Star Wars X-Wing was starting to eat 40K's lunch. There were 2 quarters in a row where Star Wars X-Wing outsold Warhammer 40K, and that had never happened. Like, nothing had outsold Warhammer 40K for decades, in the non-collectible miniatures vertical. This is from the ICV2 industry website. And yeah, and there were 2 quarters in a row where all of a sudden Star Wars X-Wing was doing better sales, and then Shadespire came out. And I do honestly believe that Shadespire came out as a relatively direct response to being like, because we're like, we got to put something out with cards, we got to put something out that people can play without technically having to paint it. I mean, the stuff still wasn't pre-painted, but I saw at my local shop plenty of Magic players that were, some were playing Star Wars X-Wing, a lot of them were, and then some of them started to get into Underworlds. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Just sitting here watching and looking at starting Space Station Zero crew using a mix of 40K, Doom, Star, Saga, and Stargrave minis. Mixes like that are always a lot of fun. Absolutely. Let's see. Every time I see the Grand Cathay Lantern, I sing to myself the old Kim Mitchell song, Patio Lanterns. Interesting. I feel like Cathay is a weird look in an alternate timeline where Warhammer Fantasy Battle got a range refresh the same way that Imperial Guard Astra Militarum did. It is definitely more, like I said, it's definitely more like fantasy historical. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it does to me in my head. How about the historical paints? As far as singles are concerned, I think historical singles are going to come out. Um, yeah, I think so, but I don't know that for sure, and I don't know exactly when. Has anyone checked out Hardwar? I always want to say Hardwar, but it's Hard War. But I also sometimes think hardware, and then I split the difference and say Hardwar, which is not a word. 6 mm game I saw a Kickstarter for. Yeah, it's made by Modifius. It is basically Modifius's version of BattleTech, sort of. From what I understand, though, instead of being mech heavy, it's like you have a mech and then you have tanks sometimes, that kind of thing. So there's that, yeah. Underworlds has amazing minis. Oh yeah, I have a bunch, even though I've never played or considered it. I don't know who plays it, to be honest, but surely someone does. Yeah, they have. There was a decent sized tournament at Adepticon. The one person that I know that plays it is Jonah, who Jonah and Bo are the 2 founders of Army Painter, and Jonah came to Adepticon basically to play in the Warhammer Underworlds tournament. I didn't mean that comment about Ash as a criticism, but as a compliment. He's like the gaming oracle. Oh, he's like, he and Vince both, I think, have those. He and Vince both have those. What do you call them? The magical amulets that gives him like 12 hours extra per day because the amount of stuff, like we all get stuff from GW, let's say, back in the day, or you get some stuff from GW and you get it. Like for a while, they were sending us stuff on Thursday and we could talk about it on Saturday. And we're like, that's not enough time, dude. We can't. How do you expect me to do? But Ash would like, you know what I mean? Like Saturday would come around, and Ash would have it painted, and you're like, how? When did you get it? And he's like, I don't know, like Wednesday, Thursday, and you're like, so yeah, he's a machine. Engines only make noise when camera is on. I will die on this hill. No, engines make noise all the time and annoy me when I'm walking around doing anything. Like they come by and I won't be filming and they rattle the windows and I'm like, it's yeah, it's not great. My Celestia Gray has gone gummy. Trip to the FLGS is an order today after all. Gotcha. GW did say in a past preview show that the Age of Sigmar narrative is building up to leaving Life Planet to go to Death Planet. If they're doing more Warcry, I expect it's based on Death Planet and will release with the change happens. Could be. I don't know. ABC Warriors and Hammerhead. I think there was an ABC Warriors something going on. There was definitely a Rogue Trader game for a while. There was a Slain game. I don't know if any of that's going to go on beyond that. Evidently, there was a Rogue Trooper. Did I say Rogue Trader? I meant Rogue Trooper. There was a Rogue Trooper movie that was maybe made and hasn't come out yet or something. I could be wrong on that. My wife uses the term rabbit ears as a substitute for profanity. With my mini factory and a 3D printer completely changed my mental landscape on FOMO. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Oh, geez, I forgot to switch back to main screen. I'm not very smart. But now I'm going to switch back to websites again. So there you go. So some other stuff I've been looking at lately over at the My Mini Factory. Vevictus has also got a cool pack of cultists, which I will probably kit bash to you have guns as opposed to swords and this thing, which is pretty cool, which is like a scythe. These heads are pretty dope though, especially this one over here. The split in half one is scary, but it's cool. But yeah, I could definitely see myself doing that. So I haven't picked this up yet, but I'm going to. And those are pretty cool. And then there's Saint Decent. She's a sculptor that does really cool stuff. I've talked about her stuff before. She has these great skeletons that she's doing. And I want to use these, I think, for Death Wizards. So these are like in my, well, I'm not logged in right now, but they're in my like wish list or whatever, thing. So I'm going to be picking these things up. I really like her work. She's also got another set of guys that I want to get to, and these are called Mage Hunters, and they look pretty like kind of fantasy, but they all have guns. You know what I mean? And they have these kind of crazy gas mask faces and stuff like that. And I like the look of these guys a lot. They've got she definitely loves to do this sort of conquistador sort of helmet thing. She's got a lot of those things going on in a lot of her sculpts. She did most of the sculpts for, I think, Turn Up 28 when they first launched with STLs. She's also done some work for Trench Crusade as well. But like just swapping the heads and using these guns and swapping the heads and tweaking things, like there's just really super cool. Like this is definitely, yeah, painted for Trench Crusade using oil washes and a lot of resin printed kit bash pieces like the hands, tilt shields, and the heads. Like having a good base, and I don't mean the base of the model, but the base of like the model as a base, like having a good body with like, holding the gun or doing whatever and all that kind of stuff, and then being able to swap out the heads and everything, I think is a great thing to have, These are super cool. I'm pretty sure those, I don't know about this head over here, but this head here, I'm 98% sure is a Sisters of Battle helmet. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. These look like they're all standard parts from her kit. Like that's kind of same type of thing. So yeah, it's just like these are definitely on my list coming up real soon. Once I get the Vevictus ones I'm working on now, I think these guys might be the next ones I do. Because I think it'd be fun to have these two forces, the Vevictus models and these models, as like two forces fighting against each other in something like Space Weirdos. Because then I don't have to worry about, like, then they kind of, it's not like weird, slightly fantasy guys fighting against like very, very sci-fi guys. It's like fantasy sci-fi type folks fighting against each other, but they're not the exact same sculptor and the exact same look and stuff. At least in my mind, I think that's pretty cool. Other stuff that I'm planning on getting or starting to print soon, as a matter of fact, I've got some of the STLs, and I've actually got one piece actually finished, but Corvus Games Terrain makes a bunch of really cool STLs for, well, games terrain, as it turns out. And they have an entire kind of cyberpunk section, and I'm working on a cyberpunk 3x3 table. I built a whole bunch of the MDF stuff, but I've also got some other stuff that I'm working on now too. The MDF stuff is all from Brutal Cities. I have this building printed, but it needs to be sort of glued together and then primed. And I have this small restaurant here. This is like painted. I'm not 100% sure I'm happy with the paint job, so there is a part of me that thinks maybe I just prime it over and start again. But this is printed and, like I said, currently painted down in my basement, but I'm just not sure if I'm as happy with the paint job as I could be. Maybe I could just touch it up, or maybe I just start over. It doesn't really matter either way, I guess. But this is a cool little building. I wish I had put like fake glass. This is the thing, is I wish that there was a way with some of these where you could put fake glass or like plastic in, but behind the, after you've painted them. But I can't usually. And the thing is I kind of hate making buildings where they have the floors separated, so you could play inside the building. I don't ever want to play inside the building. I just want the building to be like a piece of blocking terrain or whatever. Um, and to get on top of it, but I don't ever want to be like, oh, we're going to take off the second floor and play in the first floor. That's never for me. So I always, whenever I get some sort of game, like some sort of piece of terrain that is designed to do that, I just glue the whole thing together. But then the downside is that you can't put windows in here. So what I did when I tried to paint mine like this, I tried to make it look like it had been on fire. So there was a lot of airbrushing, like from the windows, from those holes, like airbrushing like soot up. And I don't know if it turned out as well as I would have liked. So I don't know. Like I said, I might start over again, but if I do, I'm not going to strip it. I'm just going to prime it again because it'd be pretty easy. But yeah, this Corvus stuff is pretty cool. I also really want, I kind of want a couple of these vehicles. Not so much the street sweeper, but I like this Metro Taxi. I think would be cool for a cyberpunk board. I don't know about the garbage truck. It's maybe too big for what I want to do. I do like this also. This thing is, I think, kind of neat. I guess I would like to have different signs that weren't just basically using the Star Wars font or whatever. You know what I mean? I guess I could make my own. I could just go in and just make it so that that stuff's not in there, and then you just print the signs, and then I could stick in there whatever I want. I might do that. But then the other thing that they make too that I really want to get, this. This is just a bunch of like urban scatter, like garbage bags and like just a couple of mattresses left over and like street signs and all kinds of junk like that. Like this type of stuff is something. The only thing is that some of this I think I would want to have resin printed probably because it might look better that way. Although I don't know how good these signs might work resin printed. I'm not sure on that. But yeah, this is all stuff that I'm looking forward to printing this summer and then probably painting maybe a little bit over the winter, maybe even into the fall. Um, and then they also, yeah, they have like a bunch of modern kind of stuff, which can also work sometimes in the cyberpunk stuff. Like it's old, like old buildings, even though they're like, today. But this is the construction site's neat, I think, but it doesn't make sense for cyberpunk unless they were like retrofitting the building. Maybe if I could make it look like it was being not built but like rebuilt or something like that, that might work. Um, and then Anvil Industry makes a bunch of really cool stuff. These guys are, I don't know, I think that they would be really interesting to paint because there's like a lot of detail there, but if they're military, it's so easy to just like do a little bit of airbrush, do a little bit of dry brush, and boom, kind of like with the guys from Blackout. Like because they're military, they're very simple and easy to be able to do that with, which I think is neat. And then so they sell their own STLs straight from their own website. Anvil does. But they also do stuff on My Mini Factory. They've got Anvil Digital Forge, and they've got some really cool, like they've got post-apocalyptic stuff, which I'm not into right now from them. The cyberpunk stuff is kind of cool, but they also have a lot of just like sci-fi, like uh, power armor that is obviously not GW power armor. You know what I mean? Although I'm not finding it right now, but well, these are like sort of Dune kind of dudes, a little bit, but not quite. But they've got a Dune vibe. Well, these are actually more like Sardaukar, aren't they? If I had to say that they're like anything, they look a little bit more like Sardaukar, which is also cool. So, um, but yeah, I want to print some of these too, or actually have my friend Dave print some of these because I'm still not resin printing yet. Boom, there we go. Let's see here. Let's see. Rabbit ears. Do. Real Warhammer comes from Nottingham. Other Warhammers are just sparkling implements of melee damage. There you go. You could use synonyms for Warhammer. Battle Mallet. That's Battle Mallet sounds like I would play that game. That sounds like a lot of fun. I hear many of the NFT owners don't even have the monkey anymore. Just a dead link. Probably. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. The idea that people think that that stuff's going to last forever is just crazy. So if they're going after stuff that is keyworded Warhammer, what do they do with the stuff where it is medieval weapon? You know, like the one that predates them by hundreds of years? I don't know. That's a good question. Pluderhosen with the puffy pants. A little bit. Yeah. D. Shruby. Hey, I know those models. I know. You printed them. Have a full army of Mysterios. You could put Mysterio, that kind of head, on other models, you know, like for whatever. You could put him on top of Space Marines. That'd be pretty cool. Like Space Marines looking all Space Marine, but with like a big globe, you know, fishbowl head. That'd be fun. Hello from Ireland. Sorry for the lateness. Well, that's okay. I recently received a 3D printed miniature as a gift. It came from Timu. It was of a Roman space warrior leader. Nice, but questionable. I mean, I don't know about Timu. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I've never used it, so I don't. I don't trust it. But yeah. Does anyone know where to look for any John Blanche shaven reference material? I saw Sam's new drawing and looking for references. Or do you mean Skaven? I'm hoping you mean Skaven, because I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of John Blanche shaven. He maybe his face, but not like his head or anything like that. But maybe you're talking about Skaven. I'm not sure. For our monthly release, we offer already assembled models as well as modular set. Nice. It's modular only. And collab sets makes sense. Tardy for the party, just getting home from a business trip. Well, I hope you had a good trip. You can also build them in Blender, export and print as one dude. Lets you alter the pose a bit without green stuff. Sure. I have not gotten the hang of Blender yet. I'm okay with that. Oh dear. Everything moved. Can you replace the plexi with good old glass? In that thing, I don't know that I could. So in the back of the front door, like, first of all, it's not square. Like, it's got the rounded corners, so the plexi is cut rounded. And I don't know how hard it would be or easy it would be to get glass made by a glass company that was cut rounded. And then there's tiny little holes that they've got drilled in, and they're drilled in, and then there's like a screw that goes in there with a little rubber thingy on it. And I just don't know if it's like too big or if it's because it got warm or what happened. But yeah, now it's all bendy wendy, and I don't like it. Let's see here. John Blanche shaven. There we go. Build in Blender. There you go. I need a palette with a 3D printer. There you go. Those Ve Victus models printed beautifully. Hats off to whoever put in the pre-supports. Nice. Good to hear. GW designed Cathay for Total War. It was part of the deal for introducing a new faction. Interesting. My favorite models from Ve Victus are all the weird dudes like Moon Mask Guy or Weird Cultists and such like. Nice. The unique characters are sculpted by my wife. I'll pass the words. Nice. I definitely need a Dave. Bottleandspool.com. If you go to bottleandspool.com, bottle because resin comes in a bottle, and spool because filament comes on a spool.com, that's Dave's website. And then you can also get stuff printed by Dave. He lives just over there. You can still get metal. Rel Partha Fantasy and several other companies make metal ones too, like Forlorn Hope. Yeah, Rel Partha still makes tons and tons and tons of metal. That's a good point. Some of the Warcrow models are in Unicool resin/plastic. I did not know that. I don't even know what that is. That's crazy. Got some Imperial Guard files off of My Mini Factory. Couldn't justify spending so much money on GW stuff. I mean, you can find stuff that's like, again, stuff that's like close, and you're like, oh, that's kind of, as. And here's the thing, like the models, the models that One Page Rules are doing now for, um, they've got their Human Defense Force, which is kind of Imperial Guard adjacent. Those are really cool models, and I like those. And I could easily see using those models in an Imperial Guard army if I were making an Imperial Guard army, which I'm not. Now, that being said, I did just recently, like last week, I took the models from the Imperial Guard Combat Patrol, not the new one with the horses, the original Combat Patrol that had the armored sentinel in it. It had the gun emplacement things, and the whatever. That's the one that I think is cool. The new one that's just basically all dudes and some horses. I don't like that. I don't like that one at all. Anyway, I painted that one some time ago. Did it on Twitch and all that kind of stuff, and everything. And I have that Combat Patrol finished. I was able to use parts, not all of everything in there, but a lot of everything in there, and to make 1,000-point Grimdark Future list without having to like even proxy anything really. So that was interesting to me, that 1,000-point list in Grimdark Future, because that Combat Patrol box, if you like when it first came out, if you like went and threw all the parts in that Combat Patrol box the way that they want you to build it into the little app that GW makes, it would tell you that that thing was like 365 points, but it's 1,000 points. And I, again, didn't use everything. I don't think I used all 20 of the regular guys. I used the HQ guy, but I didn't use the entire HQ group that follows the HQ person around. And then I used the 2 gun emplacements, like the rocket thing and the howitzer thing, and I used the chicken walker or whatever, the armored sentinel. Um, and that came to like 1,000 points. So can you place the plexi with gold glass? Yeah, I don't know. North Star Military Figures has some good metal minis and great prices. I like their plastics. I've never really messed with their metals. But North Star Military Figures, like the Frostgrave models, the Stargrave models, are all pretty dope. Pretty dope. X-Wing and Legion are such great games, but Fantasy Flight had to Fantasy Flight. Way too much stuff and then drop it. Yeah, I mean, Legion is still around, technically. They just did a new version or whatever. So my friend Kevin and I were going to start playing, and then they changed the rules again. And now neither of us has enough painted models, of course. And they changed the way that some other stuff changed. And so we sort of got shot in the leg on that one. So now we need to go back and download the new rules and read the new rules, and then probably build more guys. And I just, anyway. Let's see here. What plexiglass is warped on the front of the Artist Opus display? Wow, that's really not good. Those things were branded as very high quality and priced as such. Yeah, it wasn't cheap, but yeah, that's what that thing is back there that looks all, because it's all wiggly. Printing in an apartment seems nearly impossible. Printing can be a smelly, messy business, especially the resin stuff, for sure. Yeah. Looking at getting an FDM printer, is there a better one than the A1 Mini for just starting out? A1 Mini and A1, both of them are real popular. Let's just say that. And I like my A1 a lot. I don't have an A1 Mini, but I know a lot of people like the A1 Mini. Weird alternate history, like what if this happens scenario? Underworlds is a great source for weird little war bands that are cool to use for not hams games. Yeah, I mean the Crimson Court, like those vampire guys, those are some of the best models I think they've made in a long time. And there's been a bunch of those boxes that have come out that I've just been like, wow. And then there's been a couple lately that I've been like, huh. Like that's yeah, I don't know. Like the most recent one with the people with the weird mouths, those were not so great. And then previous to that, there was the crones or whatever, like they had like knives, but they sort of looked like harpies a little bit or whatever. And I was like, those are kind of weird too, but not for me. Conquistador helmets look cool. I'll give her a follow on my mini factory. Yeah. Saint Decent, I've been following her on Instagram or whatever for a long time, and I've always liked the stuff that she's doing. You're in the home state of Harley. Oh, don't I know it? I just heard, or I saw a thing recently. I don't know where it was. It was not on Reddit, but I think it was from Reddit. It was like, you get these reels sometimes. They would just go and mine a bunch of stuff off of Reddit, and then they make a reel of it, and then they put it up, and they're like, there's a lot of companies that do that. They mine stuff off of Reddit and then make content based off of it. And this was like one of those threads that pops up on Reddit all the time. And I haven't used Reddit in a long time. I've been trying to stay away because it drives me a little bit nuts. Anyway, it was a situation where it was like the thread was like, hey, tell us secrets about your work that people aren't supposed to know, something like that. And this person said that they worked for Harley Davidson. And they said that currently Harley Davidson has warehouses and warehouses and warehouses and warehouses full of unsold motorcycles, and they are hiding them basically because they're not selling like they used to, but yet they need to make it look like they don't want to stop production because then the stock will drop or this will happen or this and blah blah. So they're basically just making motorcycles nonstop, but they're not selling them. They're just putting them in warehouses. And I'm like, that will be untenable quickly. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. But the guy was like, yeah, nobody knows this, and people, we're not telling the public or whatever. And I'm like, well, now you told Reddit, and then someone stole it off of Reddit and put it in this Facebook reel, and now I've read it, and now I've told you folks, and so this is the way these things work. But yeah, FTM with PLA specifically, yeah, it's not too bad. If you try to use ABS, I was going to say abs. I'm like, I don't really have the abs there, but if you try to use ABS, you need an enclosure to vent. Yes, I've heard that too. You need to vent the enclosure, as it were. I sculpt all my combat tails minis to be heads, torsos, and legs. Tails for snakes. Nice variety for mix and matching. Not too much in the way of parts. See, that's the thing. I don't want too many parts, but I do like a little bit of posing. Now, obviously, you can't make them super dynamic when you do that, but I don't. I want my guys to look like they're in a fight. I don't want them to look like they're doing a interpretive dance. I want them to be like, I'm shooting guys. You know what I mean? Whenever I like, a lot of times I'll see models where I'm like, oh, it's in between battles right now. He's like cleaning his gun, and I'm like, well, that's a nice little tableau you've built there, or whatever. But I'm using him in a war or a battle right now, so I don't need him cleaning his gun or changing his ammo or like, pointing off in the direction and looking wistfully. I need him pointing a gun and looking, with his trigger finger. I don't know. I try to stay away from super dynamic models that don't look like they're actually doing anything fighting wise. That kind of drives me a little bit nuts. But again, I'm a tabletop painter who's trying to make stuff for actual gaming. Pass the word to Saint Decent? Absolutely. Does Uncle Adam have a Discord channel? I do. It's for my Patreon folks. So I have a Patreon. I don't have a button that pops up Patreon. I should, probably. But there's the Uncle Adam's Irregulars is the $4 a month folks, and those are the folks that have access to the Discord. There's just I don't have a public Discord because I don't have the time to admin a public Discord right now amongst all the other things. And when I clunked the mic again, sorry. When it is a Patreon only type of thing or whatever, then it's less admin because those people kind of paid to be there, sort of. So it's less shit posting. Let's just say that. I mean, not none. It's fine. Sometimes I do, but I keep both machines in my kitchen dining space because there is a big window there and a ceiling fan. Gotcha. I knew somebody who like did all their 3D printing in the bathroom because they lived alone, but they had two bathrooms, and one of them they were just like, yeah, I almost never use that bathrooms, and it's got a vent for bathroom smells and whatever, and so that's where he did his printing, which makes sense. Don't print ABS for miniature terrain or minis. It is the wrong material. I would think so. Yeah. I just have only printed PLA, and I've been pretty happy with it. If you have any interest in smaller scales, the Battlebox 15 by Corvus is incredible. I've never been at a small scale. Well, I take that back. I did play Flames of War for a hot minute, but it was mainly just because a bunch of friends of mine were getting into it, and I am, peer pressure really. And but I did like the tanks. They were fun and they were nice and small and easy to paint. But then I didn't like painting little guys. That was no fun. And plus the rules were weird and just we eventually all stopped playing. So that was the only like stuff that's not 28mm scale that I ever played. I have the STLs to the Corvus Hobby Caddy paint palette around here somewhere. Haven't seen that. Greetings from a chilly but beautiful central coast of California. Well, there you go. Chilly's not bad. Everybody else was talking about how hot it was. Bamboo know their stuff for material settings? They seem to. Yeah. Has your bamboo printer ever had its filament back up and encase your print head? Is no fun. Encase the like the hot end? No, that I've never had. No. Just printed some walkers for Marche. I think it's French game, right? Marche, or is it Marcher? I don't know how it's pronounced. Anyone gearing up for Crucible / QuestCon in Orlando? I'm doing some prep to make sure painting area is well stocked. I've never heard of that convention. That's cool. I didn't know there was I mean, I guess it makes sense. I didn't know there was a gaming convention in Orlando though. That's cool. Let's see here. Shaven Skaven? Don't. That's no fun. Nobody wants that. I was a I was a glass cutter once upon a time, and you can get curves. They're just expensive. I wouldn't want real glass in any of my terrain, though. Oh no, I don't want glass in the terrain. I was saying before, it'd be nice to be able to get like a little piece of plexiglass behind the terrain pieces that I was talking about before. For sure, don't want real glass in there. Real glass in this thing back here would be nice because it wouldn't be all bendy like this, and look like a funhouse mirror. That's what I would like to get real glass in potentially, but I think it would be very difficult because, like I said, it's got a very specific size, curved edges, and all that kind of stuff. You guys can't see it, but I have a picture just out of the frame up here that I took in Vegas back in like 2020, and it's probably one of the best pictures I've ever taken. And but this is the sunroom, and I didn't want it to get all bleached to hell, so I did go to the local glass company, and they ordered me a piece of like UV blocking museum glass to put into this cheap frame that I got from I don't know where, someplace, Amazon maybe. Um, and that worked well, but it didn't have rounded corners and little tiny holes drilled in it and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, but that should help at least. But I don't because I thought, well, this would be nice if it was UV blocking as well, you know. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If it was, I guess if I was smart, I'll probably end up. I wanted to have it back there because it'd be nice, but maybe I'll just eventually move it in the basement. Then it won't get sunburned. That's for sure. Allison, how you doing? Allison Silverhair, howdy. Wish there were tutorials for printers which go step by step for everything from settings to actual printing. All the videos are all scattered or only deal with a particular printer. Sure. Maybe remember that rat that had a human ear on its back. Was that a rat or a mouse? But yeah, they did. They were testing some 3D printed scaffolding for cells. Yeah, they were basically growing a human ear on a like hairless mouse or a hairless rat or something like that. Just went to Rel Partha Legacy. Oh my, it's like my childhood came back with minis and blister packs. Well, that's cool. Models OPR have been putting out have been great. Yeah, I've heard from Jefferson at TMX because he came, Jefferson from One Page Rules. He was there at TMX and he was saying that the new Human Defense Force models are like selling like crazy, like the STLs and stuff like that. Dude, they're outselling what used to be their big sellers, and then when these new ones came out, they're like monstrous. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. If you know Eldfall Chronicles, those models are also Unicool. I don't know Eldfall Chronicles. Who makes that? I ordered some Trench Crusade figures from Dave. Thanks for the suggestion. There you go. Let's see here. What else? OPR is better optimizing GW boxes than GW. I mean, well, yeah, no, that's true. I've only occasionally used Orca Slicer. It's a slicer for slicing up killer whales. It's mean. Um, display, not terrain. Oh yeah, yeah, no. Like I said, where's the? Let me look it up. Let me grab it real quick. This building here. So, like I said, well, actually, I think Dave printed this for me originally. I've printed, this was before I had my printer. Yes, Dave printed this for me, actually. And then I put together and painted it recently, but I was thinking it'd be very cool to be able to put you can get that super thin plastic that's like in blister packs and stuff like that. I could put some of that behind these windows, but there's no good way to put it behind the windows when the things all put together. And even when it's not put together, it's still not as, I don't know. It's I do wish that there was, I know some company had a thing where you could sort of slide plastic down inside to make it like a thing, but then it kind of looked weird. I don't know. There's got to be a solution in some fashion. I just haven't thought of it yet. But like I said, I just tried to make the building look like it was burned out, and it didn't need windows. Because when there's a fire, then there's no windows. It's just the way it kind of works. Gaming term is taking an arrow to the knee. Oh, good point. Good point. That's a very good point. 500 point Legion game might be good with your existing forces. Maybe. That's a good point. Maybe. It just drives me nuts that they call that a skirmish. I'm like, because that's what they were originally, like when they were like, hey, we're making skirmish rules for Legion. I was like, yes, about time. Because I basically wanted Kill Team, but for Legion. And then when they're like, yeah, instead of 800 points, it's 500 points. And there's a couple of little tweaks. And you're like, that's not skirmish in my mind. I'm sorry. Louise at Rogue Hobbies did a video about the weird mouth figures you mentioned, and after a change in how they are painted, they don't look bad. I thought they still look bad. She shared a picture on Blue Sky, I want to say, and I was like, they still don't look great. Reddit and Quora are massive time sinks and rage bait. It's just mostly honestly for me these days with is Reddit specifically. I'm just like, oh, that's bad. Like it's just that over and over and over and over and over again. Like not even a person saying something bad, just like news that I don't want to see. And so yeah, it's just the way it works. Surplus motorcycles and cheese in the same cave. Well, you do want to, yeah, sometimes you want to put cheese in a cave, right? I don't think it's a good idea to put motorcycles in a cave. Boomers and elder Gen Xers are aging out of motorcycles, so no wonder Harley are sitting on a lot of stock. Oh yeah, I mean, and especially with the cost too. Like your millennials, I mean, millennials some can probably afford some of those motorcycles, but the Gen X's or the Gen Zs probably aren't going to be interested in it. And yeah, it's I don't know that they're going to be doing well long run. Current screen overlay still has your Twitter instead of your Blue Sky. Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. I got to fix that. It's a good point. I just got to put a little right down here. Put a little butterfly in there instead of the burb. Nowhere near enough ventilation in my bathroom. No, neither of our bathrooms are ventilated. I mean, we got windows, but no like fan or anything like that. So that's a bummer. I hate models posing with their foot up on a crate or rock. If they're like, if they're doing it but still shooting, then I'm like, okay. But if they're just standing there with their foot up, then I'm like, yeah, thanks, Captain Morgan. Um, they never talk about Flames of War in Dare class. True. I like the sculpted terrain on Underworld models until I don't. Yeah, see, that's the thing too. I'm not. That is another problem. I don't like that when the base is already sculpted for me. I want to do the basing. I know some people don't like to do basing, so they're like, well, at least it's already finished for me. I get that. But for me, I just want it to be normal. And sometimes you can get the model to work on the base that you want, but sometimes the foot is integrated into the stupid base. And then you stick the ankle into it, and I'm like, okay, you guys screwed up. I don't see that as much as I used to, but sometimes you still do. I love Dragon's Trapper Lodge. They make really weird creature tales. Nice. Who saw that Glacial Geek won himself a golden ticket for Warhammer World? He did. He did. Yeah, he is where did he do that? He was at, I forget the event too. Oh, the Goonhammer GT. He was at the Goonhammer GT and he won the Goonhammer GT. Yeah. Which was in Baltimore, I think, like 2 weekends ago or last weekend, something like that. Yep. Yep. Actually, not only did he win like best overall or whatever, but he also won best painted army. But they couldn't give him both awards because they don't do that. So they gave him, they're like, which one would you rather have? And so he took the golden ticket. So, which I get. I don't know if is it a golden ticket for Warhammer World, like the place, or is it a golden ticket for the Warhammer Worlds, like tournament, which is I don't know where that is. Is that in Vegas? I don't know where that is. I don't know. Let's see here. Said it was in the southeast in November. Yeah, so I think if it's in the southeast, it's like I don't know. I don't keep track of those things, but it's a big tournament that they do here in the States, I think, and so you get a ticket for that. You might could get plexiglass at a local hardware store, which you could round in the corners. Well, it says thing is, it's already plexiglass there. I just, I don't know. I guess I don't want to have to redo the plexiglass for this thing unless they're going to send me money back. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect it to look like that, I guess, when I got it. Do they let Army Painter Studio Team into the Warhammer world? I guess we'll see. 14 to 34-year-old me wouldn't believe it, but 40K passed me by. Well, there you go. I still love the lore, old, and even some of the new miniatures. I'm glad to escape the new edition treadmill. Thank God for mini agnostic games. I agree on that. Thank God for mini agnostic games. Let's see here. I've heard the minis for Warcrow are nice, but the rule set is supposedly as fiddly as all get out. The book is very thick. The rule book is, I don't know, inch and a quarter thick, and it's like a hardcover, and it's got custom dice. And I was like, I mean, as soon I don't like custom dice. I like terrain with balconies, etc., to get the playable terrain feel without composite buildings. Yeah, absolutely. If I can get up on the roof or if I can get up on a balcony, great. But I don't want to have to like take the top off. It's just a pain in the butt. So we play inside. Something you could try for those buildings is just put plastic card inside and then paint it as blue glass. Yeah, I mean, I could do that ahead of time, I suppose, too. I mean, I could just use whatever kind of scrap plastic I have and do that maybe, but can you ship in a bottle the windows in that terrain? Roll or curl a strip and scoot it and play? I thought about that. Like try to get some plastic and then roll it, slide it in there, and then try to. It seems like it's really hard though. I'm not a ship in the bottle type guy. I don't think. I got big hands. Eldfall Chronicles is from Free Company. They're a small company that did a Kickstarter in 2021. Huh, neat. Sculpted bases are okay, but as you said, as long as it didn't integrate any part of the actual mini. Yeah. Thankfully, you, Old Hammered, Ash, and others have introduced me to a bunch of great alternative indie and miniatures agnostic games. Well, that is the hope. Dusting off old miniatures to play with new games has been a game changer. Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing that's great about this hobby is that you can, you got these models that you bought for this game, and maybe that game's not made anymore, that game's not played anymore, but those models are still models, so you can use them in other games, and that's what's really cool about it. We've got a new episode dropping tomorrow of the Snarlcast. Me and, if you haven't heard of it, me and Vince Venturella started a podcast back in March, and we talk about indie game and indie game design. And it comes out every 2 weeks. And the next episode comes out tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock a.m. So yeah, it's in Atlanta. Oh, well, that's super convenient because I'm pretty sure Phil just lives outside of Atlanta. So yeah, that'll be awesome for him to be able to go to that convention or that tournament. That's really cool. Um, 3D minis are hit or miss due to scale. They can be sometimes, yeah. Uh, Maybe the warp in the plexi wouldn't be as visible on camera if the light in the case was on. Maybe, I don't know. Again, like I said, maybe it was straight when it left England or whatever and everything, and then because it's hot here, like it expanded. Things when they get warm get bigger, right? Isn't that how that works? I think things get when they get smaller slightly when they get cold. That's why streets explode sometimes because the plates or the pieces and it just goes like that. Um, have you contacted Artis Opus customer service about the warped plexiglass? I haven't yet. No, I just honestly finally set it up. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and then all this stuff with my mom's been going on, so I haven't taken the time. I don't know if they can do anything about it. I can handle custom dice, but over an inch of rules for a skirmish game is going to be a no for me. Yeah. AMG has special operations format for Legion, kind of like Kill Team. I'll have to take a look and see if I've seen that or not. I don't think so. You can always play old games. You can always use old minis. That's what meat space games have over video games. It's true. Vince really must have a time turner or something with 2 podcasts, the Wednesday Warhammer, hobby cheating videos, game design. This is what I've been saying for a long time. He's got a magical amulet that he can, like, I don't know, he has to say an incantation, or I don't know, maybe it's got a little toggle switch. I don't know. And it allows him to stop time for 12 hours, I believe. So he can just sit and paint or do whatever. Like it's, 12:36 p.m. He just got to finish with lunch, and then he can do stuff for 12 hours, and then now it's 12:37 p.m. You know what I mean? Like that's very convenient, I'm sure. The hard book for Warcrow is mostly lore. The rules are 54 pages. Okay. Well, that's good. I would try giving it a go. The warp is being made to look worse by the reflection. The light inside would kill that. I don't think the lights would kill it in this situation because it's reflecting the windows and stuff like that, and it's daytime. At nighttime, sure, probably so. But at daytime, like the lights in there aren't bright enough, I don't think, to make it so that you can see it. I don't have it available to plug in yet. I'm going to have to run an extension cord or something, but we'll see how that goes. Um, I do a ton of 15 millimeter, and it's either metal minis from RPE, Ralpartha, sure, splintered light, and then a ton of 3D printed stuff. I use a mini scaler STL to scale everything 15 millimeter or 20 millimeter for consistent scale. Gotcha. Nice. Um, when those motivation people say we all have the same 24 hours in a day, sure, that's why mine all feel like 12. Well, like I said, just, we all have the same amount of time, except some of us have got a little bit more. Just, and to be perfectly frank, beyond, the potentiality for magical amulets, we all have the same 24 hours, but some of us have got kids, and kids are, you need to like look at them and all kinds of stuff. Kids, like, you got to feed them, you got to put clothes on them, you got to wash them off, just spray the hose on them. I don't know. I don't have kids myself. So that takes up a ton of time, right? Is my point. Other people have got 2 jobs or 3 jobs or whatever. Other people have got, like family members they've got to take care of, or whatever. There's all kinds of things. So people have always got a lot of things going on in their lives. And so some people have more time for hobbies and some people have less, so there's that too. And that's always something to think about too. Spotlight is good for crafting stuff. I don't know what Spotlight is. Same 24 hours, different energy levels and different priorities. Sure, there's that too. Yeah, that's the thing. Like people, I'll get people who are be like, oh, I haven't been able to paint my army and this and that, or I haven't been able to paint this warband and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. And then, but if if you start to ask them like what things they do, it's very frequently, oh, I like watch, a lot of movies, or I watch a lot of series or anime or whatever, or I like to read a lot or whatever. And so there's all these things that can happen. And then the question becomes, and this is not a negative, but then the question becomes, well, maybe that's your actual hobby and this isn't. And like the thing I talked about recently about like, don't buy so much stuff if you're not doing the hobby, I think is important. Like you could be very into the hobby as a concept. Oh, I'm very super interested in, the hobby. Great. But if you don't do it, except to just buy more stuff, that's not good for your overall everything. It's not good for your finances. It's not good for storage. You know what I mean? Like all of those things. So sometimes people have to just understand that they like to think that their hobby is, you know, uh, paint miniatures or wargaming or whatever. But if the only portion of that hobby that you actually do is just buying more stuff, then that's maybe it's not actually your hobby. You know what I mean? And then you're going to end up with a big pile of stuff at some point and be like, well, now what? That's the thing I'm trying to combat for people. I don't want people to, because the FOMO is so real, and you're like, well, I got to buy that, and then you're like, but the last four things that I had to buy, I still haven't painted, and you have to ask yourself, at which point are you gonna, um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't want to tell people how to live their lives necessarily, but if I can give you maybe something to think about, that's really the best I can do. Chronic illness is a time killer, sure, sure. And at least, and I like chronic illness, I would think would lend itself more to some degree to consumption of media, because you're kind of resting because you're not feeling well and stuff like that, so you can at least hopefully watch movies and or whatever, things like that. And so that is hopefully still a uh, like a hobby that you can, or reading or whatever. Now if you've got like, if your eyes hurt because that's part of it or something like that, that makes it worse. But then hopefully maybe like audiobooks, I don't know. um I've got a friend who wants to paint, but he's got a very hard time due to an illness that causes a lot of kind of shaking and stuff like that. And um, yeah, so we've chatted about it to some degree, and I can understand the definite difficulties in those situations. Some people have full time staff to do everything for them. Wow, that must be nice. I don't know. It's got to be expensive though. Spotlight is a chain of craft stores in Australia. Oh, okay, okay. I refuse to do any business with Timu, especially when I can walk to my local Dollar Tree or Dollar General and get most of what I need for terrain. The rest I scavenge from the trash at work. Yeah, I'm not a Timu fan myself. Yeah, I don't like their overall kind of everything. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on there that I'm not super into. Spotlight is an Aussie craft slash haberdashery. Isn't haberdashery? Isn't that where you get hats made or something? Maybe I'm thinking of a different word. 24 hours, I have. Motivation is questionable, sure. Can you wait to glue the building together until you have gotten them painted? Technically, maybe, but probably no. Because I like to do a lot of, well, I'm priming them and airbrushing, and yeah, it's a possibility. It'd be the only good way to do it, but I don't know that I'd be able to do it much. Phrase I heard was, I like the idea of wargaming rather than the actual wargaming. I mean, and that's understandable. Some people, um, like cooking shows are very popular. There's a lot of people who watch a lot of cooking shows and then they don't cook, but they just like consuming the content, and that's fine too. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying if you watch cooking shows you better start cooking. I mean that's, but it can be kind of like the same thing. I know there are people out there who like love the like the 40K lore, and they talk a lot about strategy, and they talk about like this and that and different units and which ones are better and which ones are worse and all that kind of stuff, that don't play, just don't. You know what I mean? They're just like, it's, yeah. That's why you've always got to be a bit wary when you go online to ask for rules clarifications, because sometimes you'll get rules clarifications from people who don't actually play the game, but they think they know it all. You know what I mean? I know a guy that fits into that category, and he's a good guy, but just, you know. And the thing is that it's been so long since he last played that then he gets the additions screwed up or whatever in his head sometimes and gives you an answer, and you're like, that's not a thing that happens in the new edition. So it's always something, you know. Now I have FOMO for Battle Mallet. Discount chains are also good for supplies. Sure. I did a video about like how to get into wargaming for under $100, and a lot of the tools and things like that that you would need to do stuff, um, clippers and files and all that kind of stuff, were all kind of dollar store stuff. Um, a haberdasher is a business or person who sells small articles for sewing, dressmaking, and knitting, such as buttons, ribbons, and zippers. Well, what am I thinking? What's it when you get a? What's the place you go to get a hat made? I thought that was a haberdashery, but that doesn't make any sense. Battle Mallet, didn't they open for Glory Hammer? Well, they might have. Um, yeah, that's. I thought Haberdasher was a place for was a hat store, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. Don't they call that list hammer? Making army lists but not playing. There's a lot of people that also enjoy that too. Yeah, that just, yeah, that's all they do. Which is also, you know, fine. It's again, you know, a hobby. Milliner is a maker of hats. Huh. Didn't Miniac do a discount store items video a while back? I don't know, maybe. I know John Ninjon did a Timu video. Um, Haberdasher used to be the hat store. Interesting. Weird. Um, I have one hat that fits me pretty well. Well, and then the fezzes, which are technically hats, but I have one kind of watch cap kind of thing that's all patchwork and stuff like that, and that fits me pretty well. And that's weird. The hat fits me. Most don't. So maybe in North America, haberdasher is like a hat store, and in Britain, a haberdasher is sewing and buttons and zippers and notions. Gotcha. That would make some sense, I suppose. Um. So yeah, I've got some stuff to 3D print and some stuff to send to Dave to 3D print, and then paint. But I will be getting I will share some photos soon of these guys that I've doing. I'm of course strangely doing them in a lot of warm colors. It's odd how that happens. I'm a big fan of warm colors. So yeah, they're going to be kind of grungy and warm color looking, and I'll share those pictures on, let's say, Instagram and Blue Sky as soon as I get them done. So yeah, so you can see them there, and that'll be fun. So if you're interested, either you know, you've got a 3D printer or a friend who will 3D print or whatever, like some of these different things, um, you know, are pretty cool. These these mage hunters with the auto guns, I definitely want to use those guys soon too. And then, you know, some STL stuff and whatever. So, you know, for those guys are kind of neat too, I think. Anvil does good work. I like their stuff. I like their resin stuff too. But this is like, they've also gotten heavy into 3D printing, like STLs, which makes a lot of sense. Less inventory, less shipping, less a lot of things. So yeah, totally makes sense. It's a great time to be a tabletop wargamer. We've got a lot of things available to us. A lot of weird and wonderful stuff that, you know, a lot of these things I just showed you, if you had to make them out of plastic and then get them into a warehouse and get them into distribution and do all that stuff, you'd go, I don't know if it's going to make us back our money. But when you're like, I make a sculpt, I put it up on my mini factory, and then I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to warehouse it, ship it, fulfill it, any of that stuff. you can do some really crazy, weird looking stuff, and it's fine, you know. And that's the thing that I really like about 3D printing. Also, no mold lines. Support nipples, yes, but no mold lines. So I like that part too. Let's see here. Thank you for the Sunday morning chat stream. Absolutely, there, Drank Later, not a problem. Have you had any issues priming resin prints? No, no. I either use my airbrush or once in a great while, if it's a bigger thing, then I use a rattle can spray if it's nice outside and everything like that. I use a black enamel, something or other from Rust-Oleum. But yeah, it's that's generally the way it works. It's been a while since I caught you live. How's your mom doing? She's in the hospital. She's in the hospital again. She's been back and forth a lot lately. So actually, I'm going to be going to see her later this afternoon. So we'll see how that goes. It's it's been a lot. Anyway, so long story short, thank you very much for coming by, everybody, and hanging out and talking. And it's always good to see you folks on a Sunday. And if you get the chance, do some hobby this week if you want to. If you don't get the chance, or if you don't want to, don't beat yourself up about it. I'll be streaming on Twitch tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you don't follow me on Twitch already, you should. Think about it. Just go to twitch.tv/tabletopminions, and you'll find a button there you can hit that says follow, and then you'll get a notification and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'll see you back here. I'll have another video coming out on Friday, and I'll be streaming tomorrow night, and I'll be streaming on Friday, and on Twitch. And yeah, so we'll see you all. Have yourselves, like I said, a good weekend. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.